Hi, I'm Gözde, and I manage many of our fintech relationships at Morningstar. Today, we're here to talk about how fintech leaders are driving change, figuring out not just how to survive, but how to thrive. And you're in for a treat today because I have a panel of industry veterans who are successful leaders in the financial industry. We have Cheryl Nash, CEO of Tegra2020, Trish Rothschild, President at Apex Clearing. She's also on the board advisor of Magnify and board director of Financial Fitness Group. Danny Fava, head of strategic development at Investment. And last but not least, Lakshmi Ramanath, founder and CEO of Lemire. A lot has changed in the last 6 months and continuing to change. To start, clients' expectations for advice are changing. Issues that are top of their mind are trust, preparation, total wellness, the fusion of health and wealth, families, and sustainable business. Talking about change, why don't we start with Cheryl? Cheryl, you had a unique experience recently transitioning from Fiserv in February to become a bold new company, Tegra2020. Then the acquisition of RetireUp in less than 6 months. So much change amidst a global pandemic. As a successful leader, if I can piggyback 2 questions for you, what have you learned and what are you hearing from your clients?
Thank you. Yeah, it's an amazing time right now, especially when you think about what's happening in the world, what's happening in our industry, which is, we're seeing digital just really transform everything that we're doing, and then what's happening within Tegra2020. So your first question about, what are we seeing? I'd say the productivity amongst people today is impressively high. We have, worked now 27 weeks in I'd say a nationwide work from home experiment, but we're doing a great job. There's no end in sight. We're at least staying home until at least February of next year. But we're also seeing that people are fatigued. So we're trying to figure out how we get around that. We're seeing that the boundaries between work and life are blurred. I'm actually working right now and I'm lucky to be at our beach house, but I'm working in our bedroom, so I could just get on the computer and roll over and go to sleep when I'm done. It's just crazy. There is no time anymore for ourselves. So we're making some big change there. And I'll say some things that we've learned. We've learned that the human spirit is really very relentless. They will do what it takes to get things done. Our team does that. Clients are doing that. I think everybody on this panel is probably doing the same thing. We're able to adapt. We're able to make sure that as this industry needs to get more digital, that we're on that. I mean, look, we're doing this virtual conference via Zoom. Talk about being digital. And there's small gestures that matter a lot. We're doing pictures of our kids every morning. We're doing pictures of our pets. I get to send my little Izzy in a picture so everybody gets to see her. We're doing DoorDash certificates, virtual happy hours, but we're also being very productive. We're doing a lot of work. With this new company, we were doing, road shows. We were going to go out and visit every client. We're now doing virtual road shows, but we're making it work. And I will say that I'm very proud of the team that I have and proud of this industry because we stepped up. We were in the office March 10th. We left March 11th, and we didn't skip a beat. So it's been really interesting. And, I applaud everything that, everybody's doing out there today.
Thank you. Danny, brand new role at Investment, head of strategy. And I know it's still new, but I'm sure you already got some ideas. What do you think the pandemic fueled or shed light on?
Yeah, so as Cheryl said, this is something we've never experienced before, and I think we've had just so many changes happen. One of them is what I call the involuntary technology revolution, which is we've had technology kind of forced on us over the course of the past few months, and whether it's online banking that some people hadn't done before, online grocery shopping. We've even seen, people in older generations adopting things like TikTok that we've never seen before. So I think, once the mind expands, it can never go back. So now we know what we can achieve online, and it's been really transformational. And it's just it's accelerated what we've expected, happen over the next few years that has happened kind of immediately. And the other thing that I think was a necessary change and really such a wonderful thing is a focus on social reform. We at InvestNet have seen tremendous growth in our gender and minority portfolios. I think they're up 84% year over year. So we really see some growth with people paying attention to companies that are focusing on diversity. And I think that's going to be like one of the best changes that has happened over the past couple of months. We're really starting to see that change materialize, and we're going to be better off because of it.
I like what you said, and Trish, congrats again. Not only one, but 2 new leadership roles this year. First at Magnify as advisor and recently as the president at Apex Clearing. Do you agree with Danny? Any thoughts on that from your perspective?
Yeah, I think both of the points that she made are spot on. I mean, Apex Clearing is an all digital custody and clearing firm. And it's interesting because their traditional clients have been robo-advisors and disruptors. And I think what you're seeing, or what Apex is seeing, is the rest of us, the traditional firms, the actually more traditional firms, are coming forward and saying, I can't afford to wait. I need digital onboarding and e-signature and a truly better customer experience for my clients. And I can't really afford to wait. So I just think it has accelerated the adoption, and ultimately it leads to a better outcome for investors, frankly. And then the same thing is true with the social reform, which also will lead to better outcomes for investors, because we all know that having diversity of thought just leads to better decision making.
Yeah.
And Magnify is a natural language search processing engine to facilitate better investment discovery and due diligence. And so it's the same thing there, where you can kind of go in and just say, hey, I'm interested in an environmentally or social conscious theme, or I'm interested in understanding who has women on their boards, and you'll get results returned that show you, from the underlying data, which Morningstar supplies, what that outcome could be for you. And so that just leads to more effective investment portfolio construction.
Very well said. I find it intriguing that, we have been talking about digital transformation for several years. And according to a study I read recently, digital transformation that typically takes 5 years merely happened in 8 weeks due to COVID. The pandemic, as you ladies said, has really driven more social and digital engagement than ever. Speaking of digital transformation, Lakshmi, you and I talked before about the need of digital transformation in the compliance space. Can you talk about what the pandemic shed light on that was so needed in your area?
Absolutely. So, I mean, it is still an imperfect world before the COVID, in terms of everybody using a lot of Excel sheets, and of course, a lot of regulatory changes that happened from 2008, and people have taken spot solutions that have been implemented to address specific areas of work. But given COVID, a lot of those dynamics changed, and Lemierre's theory of integrated risk management, integrated compliance risk, started to play off very, very soundly, and that became the need, and we are seeing a lot of traction on that side. The reason being that you cannot work in silos, and of course with OCIE risk alert that came out last week, the number of risks in the market have grown up tremendously in terms of investor protection, the frauds that are possible, the anti-money laundering, the money laundering that happens, cybersecurity risks. So the number of risks which are differently organized have become far more acute now. And in that sense, a lot of the solutions that we kind of created in advance, whether it was the Reg BI solution for clients' best interest, or the IDGRC vendor risk situation, where we can analyze the risks in your IT system, as well as vendors, as well as compliance management, where you have to manage and supervise your staff. Now the staff being everywhere and not just in the office, has become very important in the market. And if you really have to do a operationally efficient process that needs to be followed within the organization, and that comes up again and again, is how do we change our policies and procedures and allow all of our staff to know what they need to do and how do they do it, in an organized way. Training, so many little things that have come up now, which are very different from in a stable market. That have to be done overnight, those, because everybody's spread out, and they have to be taught the new rules of the game, and how do they do their cybersecurity protection for their home offices, how do they do their client best interest, how do they keep the data of the clients private, even though they might be working with Excel sheets. There's so many aspects of things that are being touched that could create risks for organizations, but also have to be addressed very quickly. And so, a lot of the cloud adoption of technology is starting to play up in the market, instead of vis-a-vis where people were hesitant to spend, had little budgets, they still continue to want to work with Excel files. All of those things are changing quite rapidly.
Very well. If you have been following, ESG and sustainability has been a major focus at Morningstar. We also had our own share of change and completed the acquisition of Sustainalytics, a leader in ESG research and ratings this year. And we you ladies especially Danny, you talked about this a little earlier. And our research shows that firms with high gender diversity on their board of directors have been more profitable and larger than firms with less diversity. Do you agree, Danny? Do we need more diversity for our organizations to thrive, perhaps, especially in times like these?
I'm going to say yes to that question. Of course we do.
I planted it.
The board of directors at InvestNet is 38% visible minorities. I'm very fortunate and proud to be part of that organization. And I've been doing a lot of thinking, on why does it matter so much, and why does all of the research say that companies are more successful when you have more diversity in leadership? And I was through a conversation with a friend of mine, we discovered something really unique about being a member of the BIPOC community, or being a member of the LGBTQ plus community. What we have done throughout the course of our lives is every time we walk into a room, we change. We change ourselves, we change the way we look, we change the way we speak, we change the way we kind of present our lives, because in a lot of ways we felt like we've had to hide. So change has been just second nature to people who are, a member of a minority community, whereas people who aren't, they're not used to change and they kind of resist change. People change for them. So I think part of the reason why executive leadership teams that have a lot of diversity are so good at, navigating times like these and being successful is because they're just used to change, and they're open to it, and they embrace it, and they know how to kind of roll with it, and I think that makes a huge difference on a leadership team. And I think that's one real tangible reason where we can say why diversity of thought and diversity of who's sitting at the table is really so critically important.
Yeah. Very well said. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, which if you haven't read, I highly recommend. And the theme is about crisis being a turning point and transformation being ability to return with new insight and wisdom. And that there is a need for connection, compassion, and hope for successful transformations to take place. Cheryl, to add to Danny's points, does that resonate with you? Are the skill sets needed to be successful in a period of change different?
Absolutely, and I would, completely agree with what Danny said. I'm very involved in a lot of different groups to help bring more women in, to bring more. Now I'm involved in the MMI Social Injustice group that's really trying to bring more Blacks into this industry and really help more diverse thinking and more diverse companies be successful. And it's really important that we all are, really around that, because like Danny said, if we just have people that look like us and talk like us, there's nothing that, you don't have to come in and change, right? You just do what you do. So it's so important. But I would say yes, and I would say there's a lot of things in crisis. When I think about my leadership, I became a CEO in the middle of this crisis. I became running a company that now is part of a PE organization. And some of the people that, that we're working with at the PE firm, some of the board members, I sit on the board members, and some of even the new employees, I haven't met yet in person. We've met via, Zoom or Microsoft Teams. So it's really important from a leadership perspective that you're very, some of the things that I think about as a leader, you need to be empathetic, you need to listen, you need to be calm, you need to be clear, you need to come across as confident. But in this crisis, you need to be flexible. I think that's one of the biggest things. I know a lot of us who are running companies, we've got people on our team who have little kids at home. You talked about your son earlier. My HR woman, she has her 4-year-old on her lap a lot in our meetings, and it doesn't bother any of us. And I put my dogs in the basement because they're going to be barking if I don't. But it's a different world, so you have to be flexible, you have to be resilient, but you have to really be courageous. I think in this world, I've heard somebody say this, and I'll never forget it, never miss the opportunity of a crisis to change. Look at your real estate strategy. Look at your people strategy. Go hire people that are in the same place as you, because now you can, because you're remote. So leaders really need to step up and step out of their normal and comfortable way of thinking and take advantage of this situation and really put some new ways in which they're doing things. And I think that's where we're all going to be successful if everybody does that. Step out of your comfort zone and do things that you wouldn't normally do.
Very well said. I really like that. As we're getting close to the end of our session, there's one area that I want to explore a little bit more. Creativity and innovation doesn't necessarily happen, like when you were talking about Cheryl, when we're in our comfort zone. At Morningstar, we serve many clients like you with their data needs to help them create great products. And in the last few months, I've seen a significant increase in new product and initiatives in the fintech space. So perhaps my next question is for the product guru, Trish. Given your years of experience in the industry and the vantage point you have as an advisor to fintech companies, I was hoping you could talk a little bit more about what new innovation and opportunities do you see coming out?
Sure. So my favorite product management line is love the problem more than your product. And when you think about what investors need, and particularly now what they need, it has to do a lot with personalization and simplification. And so in terms of like specific innovation, I really am excited about the opportunity to bring more customized, personalized investment portfolios to individuals in a scalable way. And the best way to do that, in my opinion, is through direct indexing and fractional share trading, which it happens that Apex Clearing does a lot of and is very good at that, which is maybe no coincidence that was one of the reasons I was attracted to the firm, is in terms of just thinking differently about serving people. And it ties to all of the ESG work that Morningstar is doing. I mean, why should I own the S&P 500 really? If I know that I don't really agree with or want to support with my money a certain percentage of those holdings. But that doesn't mean that I'm not, that I wouldn't want a passive strategy. I just want to have it my way, right? And so you can overlay certain preferences very easily. And I just don't think investors understand that that's even possible. And so I feel like there's an educational opportunity to help people understand that it's their money, it's their outcome, and they can drive the conversation with their advisor. And so that's the kind of, I think fractional shares is the idea that I would say like highlights that the best.
Well, looking at the time, wow, this went so fast and we're almost out of time. So I want to ask one last question. If I can get 1 to 2 sentences from each one of you, your half crazy prediction that will come out of the industry in the next 5 years, in any order.
I'll go first because my guess is the other people might have even better ideas, and I want to make sure I get mine out there because I don't want to think of a second. So, okay, I'm really interested in ensuring that there's like really high quality voice recognition. Like, it's not necessarily unique to financial services, but I feel like if I or my friends or whomever could just talk about their financial goals and talk about their plan and have that kind of like come back in a package, like it's just so tedious the way it happens today. And I know there's lots of improvements being made around financial planning and financial wellness, but a lot of those goals and back to the personalization, it just comes out more naturally through language. And so I would love to have like an automatically generated plan based on like my partner and I talking about it.
Okay, got that down.
For me, the concept, it's more of a concept. The concept of income share agreements I'm in love with because you can get your education funded, not based on where you come from, how much money your parents have, or what your credit score is, but based on your future ability. So that really levels the playing field for a lot of people. So I think we're going to see that concept sort of come into financial services in the advice practice, because advisors are trying to figure out, how do I help clients that don't meet my minimums yet, right? I really want to help them, but how do I make it make sense? And I think we're going to see that concept sort of take shape in other places where I am going to view you as a, view your future potential rather than what you have right now. And whoever really cracks that nut on how to do that kind of in other areas is really going to make, significant transformation.
And mine is kind of very similar to all of those. So I would say that technology like ours, that we all of us on this panel that we have, technology is going to make it so much easier that everybody can have a financial plan, everybody who wants one, whether it's voice, whether it's what Danny was saying, but I think we've got to make the simplicity, financial planning much easier, financial literacy, but make it so everybody can have a financial plan.
I would like to add, the consumer protection aspect of it to the whole story. I mean, given the 2008 crisis and how a lot of people lost their money, the whole aspect of compliance and regulation, though it's very tedious and some things that you don't want, but I think if we can get it all right, we will all do it right for the best interest of the customer. And as much as we are offering good products to them, we also have to make sure that what we are doing is not in conflict to what their interests are. And so I think that's kind of very important from what I look at things, that what we did wrong from the 2008 crisis, can we do it right now with this crisis? Can we kind of also be fair and work in the best interest of the clients?
Very well said. Well, then I'll have to follow up with you, all of you, on these in a few years. Alexa, set a reminder.
Okay, I will remind you to have another panel with these ladies next year.
Surviving.
Very good.
Just remaining relevant now for these ladies.
Trisha's prediction came true in like 5 minutes. Like, that's great.
I think the current environment creates an opportunity for the fintech industry to thrive. And today we heard about some of the areas the pandemic shed light on. We talked about the new skill sets for successful transformations and perhaps new thinking that comes out of diversity, as well as new innovations that are coming out of necessity. Ladies, I really enjoyed chatting with all of you today. Thank you for taking the time and sharing your insights. And also to our audience, thank you for listening. And now, if you have any questions to our panelists, please use the Q&A section and we'll be curating answers shortly. Have a great day, everyone.
Lovely meeting all of you.
Bye.
Nice to meet you.